My name is Courtney Davis and I'm 30 years old. Growing up, my family always saw me as the invisible one, the kid who faded into the background, while my younger brother was the star. He got everything: new cars, private schools, endless praise, while I was just the other kid scraping by to prove myself. I never let it break me, though. I worked hard, built something big, something they couldn't ignore. But at our family's Christmas dinner in Denver last winter, everything exploded. My brother found out what I'd achieved: $28 million, and he lost it screaming in front of everyone. My mom joined in, yelling to defend him, while my dad just sat there silent. That night changed everything. What happened next? It's a story of betrayal, lies, and standing up for what's mine. Stick around to see how it all went down. If you're hooked on this family drama, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell to catch every twist. Growing up in Denver, I was always compared to my brother. I'm Courtney Davis, and for as long as I can remember, my family treated me like the spare kid, the one who didn't shine. My brother, on the other hand, was their golden child. He got a shiny new car at 16, private school tuition paid without a blink, and constant praise for every little thing he did. Meanwhile, I was working shifts at a local coffee shop, steaming milk and scrubbing counters to cover my college tuition. My mom would say, "Why can't you be more like him?" And my dad just nodded along, never stepping in. They called me the plain one, like I was some background character in their story. I wasn't lazy, though. I studied computer science at a state school, stayed up late coding, and landed an internship at a small tech firm. It wasn't glamorous, but I loved it: building apps, solving problems. My family didn't care. At holiday dinners, they'd fawn over my brother's half-baked ideas, while I sat quietly, my work dismissed as some computer stuff. My cousin would smirk, chiming in with, "At least he's going places." My mom would beam, and I'd bite my tongue. By my mid-20s, I'd started my own software company. I poured everything into it: nights, weekends, every dime I earned. It was growing fast, but I kept that quiet. My family didn't need to know. They'd never asked about my life anyway, too busy cheering for their star. I wasn't chasing their approval anymore. I was building something for myself. Still, their words stung: every plain one jab, every comparison. My friend Kristen, who I met in college, saw it all. She'd roll her eyes when my mom bragged about my brother's latest scheme, whispering, "They have no idea who you are." I didn't realize how deep their favoritism ran until I got older. My mom paid for my brother's European gap year, his business school applications, even his apartment rent when he needed space to think. Me, I got a lecture about pulling myself up. My dad stayed silent as usual, letting my mom run the show. Once I overheard my brother's girlfriend laughing with my cousin about how I'd never amount to much. It hurt, but I used it as fuel. My company was my focus, my code, my team, my vision. I wasn't going to let their doubts define me. Looking back, those years shaped me. I learned to rely on myself, to trust my own path. Kristen was my rock, always pushing me to keep going. She'd become a lawyer by then, sharp and loyal, the kind of friend who'd call out nonsense without hesitation. My family, though, they were blind to my hustle. They saw my brother as the future, the one who'd carry the family name. I was just the sister who paid her own way, who didn't need their spotlight. But that was fine. I was building something bigger than they could imagine. Last winter, I went to my parents' house in Denver for Christmas dinner. The table was packed with relatives, the air thick with chatter and clinking glasses. I sat quietly, picking at my food, while my brother Zachary held court. He was all smiles, boasting about his new real estate project, some flashy development he swore would change Denver. My mom beamed, hanging on his every word. "That's my boy," she said, her voice dripping with pride. "He's got big plans." My cousin Erica nodded along, tossing in compliments like confetti. I stayed silent, used to being ignored, but their voices grated on me. Then my mom turned to me, her smile gone. "Courtney, still messing around with those computers?" she asked, her tone sharp, like my job was a hobby. Erica snickered and Zachary leaned back smirking. Something snapped inside me. I set my fork down, looked her straight in the eye, and said, "Actually, Mom, my software company's worth $28 million. The room froze. Erica's jaw dropped. My dad's fork hovered midair. Zachary's face twisted, his eyes narrowing like I'd stolen something from him. "You." He spat, his voice loud enough to make the table shake. 28 million. "That's a lie." His chair scraped as he stood, fists clenched. "You've never done anything big in your life." My mom jumped in, her voice shrill. "Zachary's right. How could you have that kind of money? You're just... you." Her words cut, but I didn't flinch. I leaned forward, calm but firm. "It's true. I built it. Every cent." Zachary's face turned red. He slammed his hand on the table, shouting, "You're making this up to humiliate me." Plates rattled, and my cousin gasped. My mom kept going, her voice rising. "Courtney, stop this nonsense. You're upsetting your brother." She pointed at me, her eyes flashing with anger, as if I'd betrayed the family by succeeding. My dad sat there saying nothing, his face blank. I wanted him to speak up, to say something, anything, but he just looked away like always. Erica tried to lighten the mood, mumbling, "Well, that's unexpected." But Zachary wasn't done. He paced behind the table, muttering about how I didn't deserve it, how I must have lucked out or cheated someone. My mom nodded, her arms crossed, still glaring at me. I could have explained, told them about the years of coding, the sleepless nights, the deals I'd closed, but they didn't want to hear it. They never had. Zachary's girlfriend sitting next to him looked uncomfortable, her eyes darting between us. She didn't say a word, just sipped her wine. I stood up, my voice steady. "Believe what you want, Zachary. It's real." He stopped pacing, staring at me like he could burn a hole through me. "You'll regret this," he hissed, low and venomous. My mom chimed in again, nearly shouting, "You owe your brother an apology, Courtney." "He's worked so hard," I almost laughed. Worked hard. He'd been handed everything. But I didn't argue. I sat back down, letting their words wash over me. The dinner went on, but the air was heavy, every glance loaded with tension. A few weeks after the dinner, my phone was flooded with texts from Catherine. "Courtney, we need to talk." She wrote, her messages piling up like a storm. "Your brother needs your help. It's family." I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. She wasn't asking, she was demanding. Zachary followed with his own texts, all charm and confidence. "Sis, my real estate project's a game changer. You're in, right? We're family." I didn't reply, but the pressure kept coming. Every day, new messages, each one leaning harder on family loyalty. It felt like a script, like they'd rehearsed it. I tried to brush it off, focusing on my company, but Mom wouldn't let up. She called one evening, her voice sharp. "Courtney, you've got money now. It's your duty to support Zachary. He's got vision." I gripped the phone, my jaw tight. "Mom, I worked for every penny. He can do the same." She scoffed as if I'd insulted her. "You're so selfish," she snapped. "Your brother deserves a chance." I hung up, my hands shaking. Her words echoed, but I wasn't buying the guilt trip. Then Dad got involved. He called, his tone soft, almost pleading. "Courtney, let's find a middle ground," he said. "Maybe you could invest a little. Keep the peace." I wanted to believe he meant well, but it felt like another push to give in. I told him no firmly. "Dad, I'm not funding Zachary's dreams." He sighed, mumbling about family unity, but I could tell he was out of his depth. Days later, I heard he'd tried to talk to Mom and Zachary, urging them to back off. It didn't work. That's when things got ugly. Erica, my cousin, posted on Twitter calling Dad spineless for not standing up to me. "William just lets Courtney walk all over the family," she tweeted, tagging relatives. Other cousins piled on, posting snide comments about how Dad was too weak to handle me. I scrolled through the thread, my chest tight. They were trashing him publicly, all because he'd tried to mediate. It wasn't just about him, it was a message to me. Play along or we'll tear you down too. The texts didn't stop. Zachary sent a long one dripping with fake sincerity. Courtney, I know you're mad, but this project could put our family on the map. Don't you want that? I could almost hear his smirk. Mom's messages turned colder, accusing me of turning my back on them. You think you're better than us now, she wrote. I didn't respond, but each word hit like a jab. I started avoiding family group chats, muting notifications, but the pressure seeped through. Even at work, I'd catch myself rereading their messages, second-guessing my choice to stand firm. One night, I vented to a coworker over coffee. They're acting like I owe them, I said, my voice low. She nodded, saying families can get weird about money. It wasn't just the money, though. It was their need to control me, to keep me as the plain one who didn't outshine Zachary. The Twitter posts kept coming, with Erica retweeting snarky memes about greedy siblings. I wasn't named, but everyone knew who they meant. My phone buzzed constantly, cousins and aunts chiming in, painting me as the villain. I tried talking to Dad again, hoping he'd step up. They're dragging you online, I said. Why don't you say something? He sounded tired. Courtney, I don't know how to fix this. His voice cracked, and I felt a pang of guilt, but also frustration. He'd always been passive, letting Mom and Zachary run the show. I hung up, realizing he wouldn't fight back. The family's tactics were clear: guilt me into giving in or shame me into submission. But I wasn't bending. I'd built my life without their help, and I wasn't about to let them take it. In the spring, an email from Eric Stone, an investor, landed in my inbox. The subject line read, "Regarding Davis Properties." I frowned, confused. I'd never heard of Davis Properties. The email was polite but urgent, asking for a meeting to discuss my involvement in a real estate venture Zachary was pitching. My heart sank as I read further. Eric mentioned a prospectus with my name listed as a key partner, claiming I'd backed the project with millions. My name, my reputation, used without my consent. I called Kristen, my friend and a lawyer, that same afternoon. Something's wrong, I told her, forwarding the email. Zachary's using my name for some real estate deal. Kristen didn't hesitate. Send me everything you've got, she said, her voice steady. I dug through my inbox, finding more clues, promotional emails for Davis Properties, all touting my support. One even had a fake bio calling me a silent investor in Zachary's vision. I felt sick. This wasn't just pressure, it was deception. Kristen came over to my office the next day, her laptop open, already pulling records. They've set up a company, she said, showing me filings from the Colorado Secretary of State. Davis Properties was registered under Zachary's name, with Catherine listed as a co-founder. My name appeared in their marketing materials, tied to my software company's success. They're leveraging your reputation to lure investors, Kristen explained. She found emails between Zachary and Eric where Zachary implied I'd committed funds. It was a lie, and they'd built it around me. I couldn't believe Catherine was in on it. Mom knew, I asked Kristen, my voice tight. She nodded, pointing to a forwarded email from Catherine to Zachary, urging him to use Courtney's name. It'll open doors. I stared at the screen, my chest heavy. My own mother plotting to exploit me. I thought back to her texts, her calls about family loyalty. It wasn't about love, it was about control, about cashing in on my work. Kristen kept digging, pulling up contracts sent to investors. They were sloppy fakes with forged signatures mimicking mine. This is fraud, she said, her eyes narrowing. We can nail them. She spent days cross-referencing documents, tracking email trails, and contacting Eric's team for more evidence. Eric was furious when Kristen explained I hadn't authorized anything. I trusted your brother, he told me over a call. He said you were fully on board. I apologized, my face burning with shame, even though I'd done nothing wrong. Then came the gut punch. Kristen found a text chain between Zachary and Dad, forwarded to her by a contact at Eric's firm. Dad had written, "This doesn't feel right, Zachary. Tell Courtney." Zachary's reply was cold. "She'll never know, Dad. Stay out of it." My dad knew. He'd known they were using my name and did nothing. I called him that night, my voice shaking. "Dad, you saw what they were doing. Why didn't you stop them?" He mumbled, "I thought they'd tell you eventually." His words stung worse than Mom's. He wasn't just passive, he was complicit. I sat in my office late that night staring at the evidence Kristen had compiled: emails, contracts, even a slick website for Davis Properties with my name plastered across it. I felt betrayed not just by Zachary and Catherine, but by Dad's silence. Kristen put a hand on my shoulder. "We've got enough to expose them," she said. "But you need to decide what's next." I nodded, my mind racing. They'd crossed a line using my name to scam people. I wasn't just angry, I was done letting them walk over me. Early that summer, I decided to put an end to it. Kristen and I had enough evidence to bury Zachary's scheme, and I wasn't going to let him hide behind my name any longer. We sat in my office finalizing a dossier, emails, fake contracts, and screenshots of the Davis Properties website, all proving they'd used my reputation to deceive investors. Kristen sent the packet to Eric, who was livid but grateful. "This is solid," he said over a call. "I'm pulling my funds and alerting my partners." She also forwarded the evidence to a lawyer she trusted, who agreed to review it for potential legal action. I wasn't ready to sue, not yet, but I wanted them to know I wasn't bluffing. I needed to face my family directly. I called a meeting at my parents' house in Denver, telling Mom it was urgent family business. She agreed, probably thinking I'd cave on their investment demands. When I arrived, the living room was tense. Zachary lounged on the couch, smirking like he'd already won. Catherine sat stiffly, her eyes narrowing as I set a stack of papers on the coffee table. Dad stood by the window, avoiding my gaze. I took a deep breath and started. "Zachary, Catherine, you've been using my name to pitch your real estate company," I said, my voice steady. I slid the dossier forward, open to a forged contract with my signature. "This is fraud. You lied to investors claiming I backed you." Zachary's smirk vanished. He leaned forward, his face pale. "That's not true," he stammered. "It's just marketing." I cut him off, pointing to an email from him to Eric. "You told investors I'd put in millions." "I never agreed to that." Catherine jumped in, her voice sharp. "Courtney, you're blowing this out of proportion. We were just trying to help Zachary succeed." I held up a hand, not breaking eye contact. "Help him? You put my name on a website, forged my signature, and lied to people. That's not help, that's stealing." She flinched but quickly doubled down. "Your family. You should want to support us." Her words were desperate, almost pleading, but I wasn't swayed. I'd heard that line too many times. Dad finally spoke, his voice low. "Courtney, maybe we can work this out quietly." I turned to him, my frustration boiling over. "Dad, you knew and didn't stop them. There's no working this out. They broke my trust." He looked away, his shoulders slumping. Zachary tried another angle, his tone softer. "Sis, we didn't mean any harm. Let's partner up for real. We'll make it big together." I almost laughed. His charm was as fake as his contracts. I pushed the dossier toward them, every page a nail in their scheme. "Eric's already pulling out," I said. "His lawyers have this evidence. Other investors will get it too." Zachary's eyes widened, his hands shaking as he flipped through the papers. "You're trying to ruin me," he shouted, standing up. I stayed calm, my voice cold. "You did that yourself, Zachary. You used my name. Now you face the consequences." Catherine clutched his arm, whispering something, but he yanked away, glaring at me. I stood, gathering my papers. "I'm not investing, and I'm not staying silent. Fix this, or the lawyers will." I walked out, leaving them in stunned silence. Kristen was waiting in the car, her expression grim but proud. "You did it?" she said as I got in. I nodded, my heart still racing. I'd drawn a line, and there was no going back. They'd underestimated me for years, but I wasn't their plain one anymore. By late summer, news about Zachary was spreading across Denver. Eric had pulled his investment from Davis Properties, and word got out fast. Investors started backing out one after another as the truth about the forged documents surfaced. Zachary's name was dragged through the mud on local business forums with posts calling him a fraud. His bank accounts were frozen pending an investigation, and his so-called empire crumbled overnight. I didn't gloat, I just watched it unfold, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. Catherine called me a week later, her voice trembling. "Courtney, we made a mistake," she said, almost whispering. "Please, let's fix this as a family." I held the phone, my grip tight. "Mom, you used my name to trick people. There's no fixing that." She started crying, saying she only wanted to help Zachary succeed. I wasn't moved. Her tears felt like another attempt to pull me back into their mess. "You made your choice," I told her, my tone flat. "Now live with it." I hung up, my heart heavy but resolute. Zachary's girlfriend Brandy was next to jump ship. I heard through a mutual friend that she'd packed her bags and left him, unwilling to stick around for the fallout. Apparently, she'd called him a sinking ship and walked out without looking back. The family was in chaos. My cousin texted me, blaming me for tearing everyone apart. Another relative posted on Twitter claiming I'd betrayed them. I ignored it all. Their drama wasn't my problem anymore. Dad reached out, leaving a voicemail. "Courtney, I should have done more," he said, his voice tired. "I'm sorry." I listened to it twice, waiting for some spark of forgiveness, but it didn't come. He'd stood by while they used me, and that silence spoke louder than his words now. I didn't call back. Instead, I blocked his number along with Mom's and Zachary's. My phone went quiet for the first time in months, and I felt a weight lift. I threw myself into my company, working late nights with my team to push out new software updates. The office was my refuge, a place where I called the shots, and no one questioned my worth. My employees didn't care about my family's mess. They cared about the code we wrote, the clients we won. We landed a major deal with a tech firm in Boulder, and for the first time in a while, I smiled without forcing it. My success wasn't tied to their approval, and that felt like freedom. The news about Zachary kept spreading. A local paper ran a story about failed real estate ventures in Denver, mentioning his name alongside alleged misrepresentations. I didn't read past the headline. I didn't need to. His actions had caught up with him. Catherine sent one last text begging me to meet her. "We're still family," she wrote. I deleted it without replying. Family doesn't forge your name or drag you through the mud for saying no. I heard from a distant cousin that Zachary was scrambling to save face, pitching new ideas to anyone who'd listen, but no one was biting. His reputation was shot, and the family's golden boy was just another name in a bad news cycle. Meanwhile, I was moving forward. My company hit a new milestone, and I celebrated with my team, not my blood relatives. They'd tried to pull me down, but I was still standing. In the fall, I stood in my new apartment in downtown Denver, the city skyline glowing through the windows. The space was mine, bought with my own money, no strings attached. I'd spent the last year untangling myself from my family's grip, and now looking out at the lights, I felt a quiet strength. The journey hadn't been easy, but it taught me lessons I'd carry forever about standing up for myself, protecting what I'd built, and recognizing the cost of manipulation. I used to think family was about loyalty no matter what. But loyalty doesn't mean letting people use you. My mother, Catherine, and my brother, Zachary, thought they could exploit my success to prop up their own dreams. They saw my hard work as a tool, not a triumph. I learned that family isn't a free pass to betray trust. It's a bond that demands respect, not blind devotion. When they crossed that line, forging my name and dragging me into their schemes, I had to draw a boundary. It wasn't about revenge. It was about self-respect. Protecting what I'd built became my mantra. My software company, now thriving with new contracts and a growing team, was proof that I didn't need their validation. I'd spent years coding, pitching, and sacrificing, all while they dismissed me as the plain one. Their betrayal stung, but it also clarified what mattered: my work, my integrity, my independence. I stopped seeking their approval, something I'd craved without realizing it. The moment I let that go, I felt free. Manipulation has a price, and I saw it play out in their lives. Zachary's ambition blinded him, leading to lies that cost him his reputation. Catherine's need to control pushed her to justify his actions even when they were wrong. Dad's silence, his refusal to stand up, left him isolated in their chaos. Their choices unraveled their own world, not mine. I learned that people who manipulate often trap themselves chasing short-term wins at the expense of trust. I wouldn't let their mistakes define me. My company became my focus. We launched a new product, a software platform that streamlined business operations, and it took off faster than I'd hoped. Clients from across the country reached out, and my team worked late, buzzing with excitement. I hired more developers, moved into a bigger office, and watched our valuation climb. Every milestone was a reminder that my worth wasn't tied to my family's opinion. I built this, and no one could take it away. Living independently wasn't just about cutting ties, it was about creating a life that felt true. I surrounded myself with people who valued me for my work, not my last name. Kristen, my friend and lawyer, stood by me through it all, offering advice without expecting anything in return. My team became a kind of family, one built on mutual respect. I hosted dinners at my apartment filled with laughter and ideas, not drama or guilt trips. For the first time, I felt at home in my own skin. I didn't need my family's recognition anymore. I heard whispers that Catherine was still trying to fix things, reaching out to relatives to paint me as the problem. Zachary was pitching new ventures, but no one trusted him. Dad stayed quiet, as always. I didn't check their social media or answer their calls. Their world was theirs to navigate. Mine was here, in the life I'd carved out. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. Standing in my apartment, I thought about what I'd gained. Not just success, but clarity. I learned to trust my instincts, to guard my achievements, and to walk away from those who'd rather take than give. Manipulation might promise quick rewards, but it always leaves a trail of broken bonds. I chose a different path, one of hard work, honesty, and independence. As the city lights sparkled outside, I knew I'd made it through stronger than ever.